are the early signs of hormone deficiency? I could have called this 7 signs of early menopause or andropause in your 30s. So I could have given it this topic any of those names, right? But what we want to talk about today are signs that you are starting to have hormone deficiency. In fact, I'm going to talk about 7 of them today that you have to start looking out for to see if you're getting depleted in some very essential hormones in your body. So let's start with defining what menopause is. I know a lot of patients that watch my channel are patients in their late 30s to like much older, but we all mistake what is menopause. I hear patients say, oh, I'm pre-menopause, or I'm in menopause, or I'm done with menopause. But what does that really mean? I think that there's been some misinformation about what the true definition of menopause is. So I tell my patients this is the simplest way to think about it. You're born with some ovaries that have a limited number of eggs, and those eggs at puberty, they start to release and give you certain hormones, right, on a monthly cycle, right? Then you get to a point in your life where the ovaries go, well, I've released the majority of the hormones eggs that I have, so I'm kind of done. Like you hopefully have had all the kids you want to have, and I'm packing it up. Okay, so we then go into what we now define as menopause. Meaning that your ovaries have reached the point where they are not making enough hormones to sustain all of the daily function that those hormones are supposed to be doing for you. Okay? So there's really no such thing as post-menopause, if we think about it, because once you're in menopause, you're in menopause. Like you are at that point where your ovaries are paused. And so you're not at some point done with that, and then in a new phase called post-menopause. Okay? So menopause is menopause. Once you get there, you have reached a point where your body is no longer making enough hormones. So we call this phase in men andropause. Okay, so yes, men, you do get to the point where your testes is no longer making enough hormones also that we call andropause. You're going to be feeling certain symptoms, okay, from that, but unlike women, for us it's like we come and fall off the cliff, and so we feel those symptoms almost immediately. It's very noticeable. A lot of people know what they are, whereas for men, because it happens gradually, you're less symptomatic with it, right? It's just slowly, and your body's having time to like adjust and catch up and so on. So andropause for men is not very, very noticeable because it happens over time. Okay, so even though for women we start to experience it over time too, but we get to that critical point where the drop off is so rapid that you just feel it, right? Okay, so let's talk about some of those symptoms. And you can start to feel this way before 50. Okay, 50 is not a magical number, right? I have a lot of patients that go, I'm not even 50 yet and I'm feeling certain things. Yes, it can happen before 50. It's whenever your body decides it's no longer making enough hormones. And for some people, that can be in their 30s. For some people, it's in their 40s. Some people, it's in their 60s. I mean, there are patients that are like 65 and are still not yet in menopause. Okay, so for everybody it's different. It depends on the number of hormones, eggs that you were born with, your genetics, your lifestyle, how you preserved your own body, not abuse your body. So a lot of those things matter in when you actually reach that stage. So let's talk about some of the symptoms, okay? So fatigue. I know a lot of things cause fatigue. We know that. Vitamin deficiency can cause fatigue. Not sleeping enough can cause fatigue. But it is one of the signs that your hormones are no longer optimal when you start to feel just excessively tired. Like, you've had enough hours of sleep in the night, but you still wake up feeling tired. Well, yeah, maybe it's sleep apnea. Yeah, but that can be easily ruled out, right? We can do a test to try to figure out if that is what it is. we can check those things out. We can check vitamin levels and see, are you deficient in B vitamins? If we check all those things and they're still not over the problem, we might start having to thinking about possibly from hormone deficiency. The next one I'll talk about is decrease in libido. So usually men pick up on this one fast, right? Because like we jokingly say, you know, men think about sex all the time, but when they start to find themselves not even interested or not thinking about it for weeks on end, they start to suspect that something is wrong. But a lot of women, we are so busy with a lot of different things, balancing family life and kids and work and sports and all these other things that we're doing, that sometimes we go days, weeks, even months and not even think about sex and not think that there's anything wrong with that. So low libido or no interest in sex is one of the signs that you are starting to have some hormone deficiency, especially the reproductive hormones. Let's talk about a third one. So there's another one is night sweats. And I really like to define this one because a lot of women go to their doctor and describe everything as hot flash. No, everything is not hot flash. Night sweats is very, very distinct symptom. It only happens at night first, that's why it has the name night sweats. It is not always sweating, and that's where a lot of people get confused. You don't have to sweat for us to call it a night sweat. It is this temperature dysregulation where you start to feel hot as soon as you go lay down at night, where you take your sheet off, and then you feel cold. As soon as you do that, you put your sheet back on. Then a few minutes later, you're hot again, you take your sheet off. And then you're doing that all night long, which of course is now disrupting your sleep, and you're not feeling rested by the time you wake up in the morning. So there's a couple of hormones that are very important in temperature regulation in our body. Thyroid is one of them, and then testosterone is the other one. So when we see that, that's where we need to check. We need to check those two hormones, make sure that they are optimal. Otherwise, we have to do something about that. So don't confuse night sweats, especially when you're describing it to your doctor to look into it. It's not a hot flash. It is a different problem. If it's only happening at night, make sure you tell your doctor that this is only happening at night, because the hormones that regulate the heat that you feel during the day is different. Testosterone is probably the one we're talking about when we're seeing night sweats. Sometimes it's thyroid, but those are easily tested, right? So let's be specific when we're describing our symptoms. The fourth one that is an early sign of hormone deficiency is migraine headaches. I know, I mean, I see so many women, so many men come in the clinic with chronic migraines. They've been suffering from it for 17 years. You know, they've been tried on a lot of medication. They've been told to come off their caffeine pill. They've been told to come off their coffee, their tea, everything they enjoy, their energy drinks. I mean, stop everything, stay away from the computer screen. They've exhausted all the over-the-counter headache medicines and nothing seems to be working. In fact, some of them have GI bleed because they've taken so many NSAIDs, medications to try to help the headache. Okay, so this migraine headache can sometimes be a sign of hormone deficiency. In particular, we have found a huge link with progesterone. So progesterone is the hormone that a lot of women know about. When you're pregnant, we talk about it a lot, because without progesterone, you cannot actually carry a pregnancy to full term. So a lot of times we talk about it during this phase of your life. But migraine headaches can also be a sign of hormone deficiency progesterone. So a lot of times when I see patients that have been chronically tested, they've had all kinds of migraine, all kinds of MRIs, CT scans, X-rays, you know, looking to see what's causing their headaches. I usually check this test, and sometimes, believe it or not, that is the problem. And we put them on the plant-based progesterone, and voila, their headache is gone. Okay, so don't miss that one. So the next one I want to talk about is hot flashes. Hot flashes is a sign of hormone deficiency. Specifically, it's a sign of estrogen deficiency in most patients. So what is a hot flash? We feel the heat come from the belly, right? It rises up from the within and goes through your head, okay? You feel hot all of a sudden, out of nowhere. Everyone else around you feel fine. You're the only one fanning yourself. Yes, it can happen any time of day, but it usually doesn't happen at night. Okay, because again, like we talked about earlier, testosterone is the one responsible for what happens at night. During the day, mostly is estrogen. So estrogen, hot flash, starts heat from the belly, rises up to your head, and happens all of a sudden. You feel hot, you're finding yourself to try to cool down. Okay, so when we see that, it's a sign of estrogen deficiency. The funny thing is, there are patients that can feel hot flash and their estrogen is not low. It can actually also be seen in patients that have way too much estrogen. Yes, if you have way too much estrogen, or what we call estrogen dominance, you can start to have this hot flash. And you can also trigger a hot flash when you drink alcohol. So in patients that have excess estrogen and drink alcohol, you can feel a hot flash. It's like your body letting you know, whoa, I don't like that. Or the liver is not processing the estrogen correctly, and you feel that heat. Hot flashes can happen because of too much estrogen, but most of the time it's seen in too little estrogen. And then another important sign that we need to talk about is that might be missed is vaginal dryness. So a lot of women, kind of don't even want to talk about this one because, it's kind of embarrassing. You don't want to be telling your doctor, especially if they're male, that you're suffering for something like this. But it could be a sign, and it might be the reason why you're telling your husband, no, I'm not interested all the time, because it's just uncomfortable, it's painful. You don't want to engage in intercourse because it just doesn't feel great. Okay, so vaginal dryness can be a sign of hormone deficiency. Specifically, we see this when testosterone is low, we see this when estrogen is low, we see this when there's an imbalance in those hormones between estrogen and progesterone. So it is very important that we definitely talk about it so we can get some help. And there is a very specific type of estrogen that helps vaginal dryness. It is the third type of estrogen that we call estriol. It's different from estrone, which is estrogen type 1. It's different from estradiol, which is estrogen type 2. Estrogen type 3 is the one that actually helps vaginal dryness. And it's very important that your doctor is giving you the right estrogen replacement to help with that. Sometimes we can see improvement just replacing testosterone. Testosterone can also help increase vaginal secretions that does help you with this problem. So a balance is really what we're after here, not just masking the problem with a estrogen cream or some wrong prescription. Lastly, let's talk about the seventh sign of hormone deficiency, and that is joint aches and pains. I know a lot of patients complain of this all the time, and we blame it a lot of times on, oh, it's just, getting older. And so we never even think about that, the problem that might be from the hormones. So when patients come to see me, they've been complaining of joint aches and pains forever. They've been rubbing all kinds of CBD creams and taking MSM and taking Droitin supplements and all kinds of stuff that they've been taking over the counter to manage it, but do not realize that it is actually related to hormone deficiency. Which hormones in particular? Well, we see a lot of it with testosterone, because testosterone is an anti-inflammatory. So when you're starting to get depleted, you start to feel aches and pains in your joints. The other hormone that you might not think about that might be causing this is vitamin D. Yes, I said vitamin D. Vitamin D is a hormone, okay? And it is very important for preventing joint aches and pains. You will not believe how many patients I test, and I'm sorry, like 80% of patients I test are low in vitamin D. And so once I see that joint aches and pain, I'm going, we gotta check your vitamin D, we gotta check your testosterone, because those might be the reason why you're aching, not just because you're getting older. It doesn't have to happen to everybody over 40, okay? So those are the things that I look at to try to see if we can help you get, your hormones balanced, and so you are no longer deficient. I need you guys to comment in the section below if you're feeling any of these symptoms so that we can get you the help that you need. Tell your doctor about it, explain it, share this video with someone that you think is suffering from this. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye.